Greetings. In this very short video, I'm going to set out why I think you need to think very carefully before booking a room at a Premier Inn hotel that doesn't have air conditioning, and why I think Premier Inn's good night guarantee is pretty worthless. Now, my name is Jim Dale. I'm not a professional YouTuber. I'm not seeking to monetize this video. What I am seeking to do is share my experiences when I stayed at a Premier Inn with my wife last week. And the Premier Inn in question is the one in Woking West. Now, the Woking West Premier Inn doesn't have air conditioning. I wasn't aware of that fact, but apparently somewhere on the website it does state that it doesn't have air conditioning. Now, I should point out that the temperature outside when we went there wasn't particularly hot. It was around about 18 degrees. But when we went into the room, which is a small, pretty airless room with a big noisy fan running, the temperature was unbearable. It was incredibly hot. I would suggest they've got something seriously wrong with the insulation of their building. Now, I went and immediately complained to the reception, and they gave me another noisy, ineffective fan. But they did assure me that come the evening, the temperature would cool down. They said they were aware that there were problems with their particular rooms. Now, what happened was we went for dinner. There's a Beefeater nearby. If you're familiar with the Premier Inn setup, we came back and the room was still like a sauna, incredibly hot. We tried to go to sleep, and at 11 o'clock I reached a decision that this was just so uncomfortable. Now, I have a little clock with a thermometer, and that registered 28.51 degrees at 23:01, and I think that's an unreasonable temperature. There was no air conditioning, as I said, and the fans weren't working. The windows were open, and it was simply stifling. So I went to the reception, and they told us we couldn't change rooms. There were no rooms available, and there were no other Premier Inns in the vicinity that they could relocate us to. So I checked out. Now, you would think under the good night guarantee that I would be entitled to some form of refund, particularly as the industry standard for a hotel room is 28 degrees. That's a maximum temperature, but Premier Inn don't take any account of that. So I gave them photographic evidence. I spoke to customer services. I spoke to the customer services manager, and the view was, oh, you know, we're really sorry, but you're not entitled to a refund. It isn't covered under our good night guarantee. Well, what about a temperature of 30 degrees or 35 degrees or 40 degrees? Nope, not covered. Not covered under the good night guarantee. Now, I did some research about the Premier Inn in Woking, and lo and behold, there is lots and lots of feedback. So again, the learning for me is look at TripAdvisor before booking a room. The worst Premier Inn ever, avoid. The room was like a sauna. The most uncomfortable night ever. Disappointing, dangerous, far too hot even on a cool day. No air conditioning. I couldn't sleep. Sleep in a sauna, and it goes on and on. So, what about the good night guarantee? Well, if it's about temperature, it doesn't apply. What can you do? Well, I think there is a health and safety issue. The industry standard is 28 degrees, so if you're in excess of that, come on, Premier Inn, at least give some, some compensation. A refund would be nice. Yes, I think you probably are eligible for some sort of claim under the Consumer Rights Act. You're not getting the service that you paid for, but as far as Premier Inn customer services are concerned, forget it. They're not interested. Now, when I asked, could I escalate the complaint? Who should I escalate to? Who was the chief executive? This was the response. We can't tell you that information, but I can. It's a guy by the name of Dominic Paul, and he works for Whitbread, which is the owning company of Premier Inn. And his email address is dominic.paul@whitbread.co.uk. So, this is a position that I found myself in. For the privilege of staying in a Premier Inn, it's £122, that's on a room-only basis. And this is a really galling thing. I paid for a meal deal, another £51.98 for 2 people. I didn't get my breakfast, I checked out at 11 o'clock. And Premier Inn, bless them, will not refund the price of the breakfast. So, good night guarantee, well, you can make your own mind up. So my advice to you is please, please, please never book a Premier Inn without air conditioning. The room we stayed in was small, there was no airflow, it was completely and utterly unsuitable for a night's sleep. It was unbearable, and bearing in mind the temperature when we left at 11 o'clock was around about 15 degrees, and yet over 28 degrees, which is contrary to the industry standard, but that means nothing to Premier Inn. So yeah, my advice, please, please, please take heed of this, and hopefully at some point Premier Inn will install air conditioning in all of their rooms, but in the meantime just ignore the good night guarantee. They're just nice words that actually mean very little. So thanks ever so much for watching this video. If you want to leave your comments, please do. Yeah, I think for me the only form of redress that I have is to claim back the money through the credit card. I think that's probably the easiest way. You could pursue a claim through the small claims court, but it seems an awful lot of hassle and effort for a claim of yeah, £122. Anyway, thanks ever so much for listening. Cheerio, bye.